Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness, presented by Yes Realty Partners. Yes Realty Partners, the name you should select, choose, and align with when doing the buying and selling of a home, guys, in Central Virginia. Yes Realty Partners. We also want to highlight Intrastate Service Company for being a part of the show. A home's best friend, Intrastate Service Company, has been helping folks take their home and make it better and improve their quality of life for more than 50 years in Central Virginia. Judah Wickower is our director. Judah, why don't we go to the studio camera and let's welcome the distinguished gentleman, Keith Smith, to the show. Good Tuesday morning, Keith.
Good Tuesday to you, my friend. You know, I love my Tuesdays, and I love sitting here just batting back and forth. You know, it takes about a couple of minutes to forget the cameras are there, and it's just two guys having a cup of coffee and shooting you know what, and trying to see what the feed comes in. I kind of want to do a quick little kickoff. This awesome report came in from Neil Williamson, so just to give him a shout out. I got it literally printed out in front of me. I've been feverishly trying to read it since this morning, so hopefully Neil is watching and he can dump it into the feeds. But it's interesting, what he done is he broke down the locality spending, and I kind of took a very quick 5-minute read into it, but apparently, according to Neil's reporting or report, Albemarle County has the highest of nearly $5,000 per capita on that end of it. So I'd love that when Neil comes in on
it's coming in soon.
Coming in soon. We'll ask him to take a little bit of a dive into it. But I wanted to break out Fluvanna County because for me that's easy.
Sure, you know it inside and out.
I know it inside and out, and plus it's easy for me because, and just to throw this out there, why this is important, why this number is important on what the localities spend. So in Fluvanna, it's a little easy because we have roughly 10,000 dwellings, or we call them rooftops in the biz. So we have roughly 10,000 rooftops. So in Fluvanna County, the average per capita is roughly $2,600. So basically, it costs about $2,600 per dwelling or per rooftop. And Neil will correct me if I'm wrong, so for sure, wrong on it. And the reason that's important. And I've been working on trying to put a round table together on NIMBYs and YIMBYs.
Okay.
I'm working on that. But one of the negatives that folks talk about on new development projects or commercial or more rooftops is the impact that it has on the local budget. And where Fluvanna County is easy for me is because if a home is worth rough math, right? It's rounded. It's not exactly up to it, but at $260,000. So if I buy or sell a house as $260,000, or your tax assessed at $260,000, you're breaking even, right? You're providing enough services. So some folks that are over, you're adding to the pie. Right, so Mr. and Mrs. Smith are a little bit higher, so we're adding to the pie, and folks that are below that are maybe taking a slice of pie to get us there. So I would encourage everybody to read this. It's a huge report. He breaks it down by jurisdiction by jurisdiction. You know, you can't. You know, it would take us 2 days to read this, to dive into it. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there and see what the feed thought about it. Or we can tackle whatever subject comes on in
Free Enterprise
in
Forums. Neil Williamson watching the program now, and he shared the link. Thank you, Neil Williamson, for sharing the link. We encourage everybody to check out the Free Enterprise Forum online, where they're spotlighting trends in Central Virginia like nobody else. Like few other people in Central Virginia are.
Unbelievable. And a lot of this, you know, and Neil kind of alluded to this at the show that we had him on a couple of Fridays ago, this is directly related to all the information coming out of the census. So it tracks the last 10 years, so forth and so on. And it has some excellent graphs and tracks on it. But read it. It's important. It's important to put 2 and 2 together because it'll equal 4. You know, we'll let Neil take a deeper dive into it when he comes and visits us.
You know, the talk around town is the census numbers were low. and that UVA students weren't accurately counted in the census numbers.
I'm glad you brought that up. I read that, I think, in Daily Progress the other day. So fill me in on the details on that. What I only read bits and pieces of it. So they're saying that the students were not correctly reported?
Yeah, that the students weren't correctly counted.
By how much, do you know?
I don't know the exact amount, but UVA students likely undercounted in 2020 census. And this is important because the census has an impact on a number of things.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's quite a bit. So the census tracts across the board impacts everything. It impacts the budgets for the counties that we just talked about with Neil's reporting or Neil's white paper that he put together. It impacts school money, right? How much money you get from the state and the feds for it, because it's your student count, which is directly connected to the census. The grant money that you're trying to get for affordable housing or anything like that is all direct. The census data is super important, and it just isn't a simple fact of counting individuals. It directly extrapolates out in so many facets of our life, and a simple Google search will help you kind of educate, get more education than I can.
348 residents were counted in the block in Charlottesville's Venable neighborhood. This, according to Allison Rabel and Ginny Bixby of the Daily Progress. Furthermore, UVA's Weldon Cooper Center for Public Service say other college communities in Virginia, such as Radford and Harrisonburg, are also seeing lower than expected numbers in the 2020 census due to potential undercounting of students. Of course, Albemarle County saw the largest population increase in the MSA at 13.56% from 98,970 in 2010 to 112,395 in 2020. I will share this link on my Facebook page in the comments section if you'd like to read more. This is Allison Rabel and Ginny Bixby of the Daily Progress offering this coverage.
So the question I would ask Neil or folks that are deep into this, how much of that underreporting is going to impact the city of Charlottesville? Will it impact the upzoning? Right? It potentially, I think it could.
How so?
Well, it's because the numbers aren't there. So if they're, because this is what everybody looks at. Everybody looks at these census numbers to create whatever they're trying to do. As far as census tract will be important for redistricting, right? For voting purposes. So we don't do that. The city of Charlottesville doesn't do wards, so it's really not that big of a deal for Charlottesville. But I think it could impact on the number of folks coming in and out. It has a direct impact on how the rest of this plan potentially could or could not come together. So if there's more students than they're reporting, the conversation we had yesterday about bringing second years onto campus.
And there's roughly, so I dug a little deeper into second years after yesterday's show, roughly 4,000 second years at the University of Virginia.
Wow.
So if you figure two of them are going to live with each other, I'd say you're looking at probably 1,500.
That's a bigger number than we talked about yesterday.
It is 1,500 to 2,000. So if there's 4,000 second years, I think that probably is roughly 1,500 to 2,000 additional open rooftops if Jim Ryan and UVA require second years to live on grounds. Currently, second years have the choice. Now, I was a second year at UVA. I lived in Lambeth Commons, which is technically on grounds, UVA-owned housing. So not all second years live off grounds. A lot of second years go the RA route, residential advisor route. They go Lambeth Commons, which has a heck of a lot of beds in it. So I'd say 1,500 is probably a safe number if second years were required to live on grounds.
And we were at 1,000 yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think I've been thinking about this. I took the opposite side. I took the negative argument on that. But in reality, I think it will improve. It'll help rooftops availability on that end of it. On the flip side of that, we were talking about yesterday, and it was a really interesting pivot on that, is how much of either whatever is coming down the pike for 1031 exchanges. So if that changes, right, if it stays the same, then we might see some actual flips, right? Actual folks taking them out of the rental market and putting them in the sale side. A quick little number. I just took a quick look at this morning on what went pending and active yesterday, last 24 hours. 16 went active. This is in the Charlottesville area footprint. 32 went pending.
So this is Central Virginia.
This is Charlottesville, Albemarle, Nelson, Greene, Louisa. But I think I got Flavanna. Thank you. My own county.
So what was those numbers again?
So it's interesting. So 16 came on the market in the last 24 hours. 32 went pending. But here's the deal. On that 16, half of them are in this coming soon column. So right now, in reality, only 8 came on the market. In other words, 8 are ready to buy today.
And they can stay coming soon for 14 days.
They can stay. So that's a lagging, as I look at it, coming soon is a lagging indicator on that. Did you like that, huh? I spent the whole day thinking about lagging indicators.
Nice.
So it's a lagging indicator so that, in reality, there's 8 homes. So if you were just looking at what came on the market today in these 6 jurisdictions, last 24 hours, so you wake up in the morning and you call Keith and Yonna Smith and say, what came on the market? Is anything that came on the market that meets my needs? Right? We're going to look at this and we're going to say, well, 8, that's that many. 8 came up, but 32 went pending. So remember we've been tracking this, and for a while there, probably, and this echoes a conversation I had with Quentin Beckham yesterday evening. For a while there, we were kind of the news on market, the new listings, the new homes coming to market was picking up a little bit. I think we're going back. We're going backwards to that. Here's the problem with that, from my perspective. Had a phone call on the way in. Same thing. That's the reason I looked at it this morning, right? First-time home buyer. What came on the market? What came on the market? Right? Because they get their Zillow thingies, right? And the reality of it is they're it's called buyer fatigue. It's a real thing. And we'll wait. So it's interesting, though. I did not expect to see that. That's pretty interesting.
I mean, I would expect, and I've felt like I've stayed consistent with this. I would expect this market to continue this way well into 2022. I mean, why would there be more units coming on the market? For what reason? What indication do we have?
Why would they come more?
Yeah, why would it go into a buyer's market? When this Delta variant becomes more prolific, more people are going to flood Charlottesville and Central Virginia from Northern Virginia. I can assure you that's going to happen.
Yeah. You're 100% right. I don't, my crystal ball is, we're a long, I've been consistent with this. We're a long way away from a balanced market.
Yeah.
At the moment. And, at the moment,
you got historically low interest rates. You got a Zoom town mentality in Charlottesville and Central Virginia where people are eager to move here because it's more affordable than Northern Virginia. There are outside options and things to do with family, their backyards. Delta variant is going to push people this fall into asking themselves, why am I living in a tiny townhome or a cramped and busy and densely populated city? Let's get the hell out of Dodge.
It's interesting. I looked at some new construction stats over in Flavanna County, and I picked apart in particular a new subdivision because I wanted to see what the median sales price was over there. It's right across from the main gate called Oak Grove, I think the name of it. I may have the name wrong on that. But in any event, they sold new construction units year to date, 52 of them. Half of them were townhomes. So they're out in the country, right, buying townhomes. And the median sales price was a little over $300,000. 300,000, 310, 320, depending on what you were buying. The townhomes were north of 250, so roughly 275. So to go back to that 260 break-even point, whatever homes were being bought and sold in this new development that closed 52 units in the beginning of this year, every single one of them is in that positive cash flow scenario. They're actually, so the whole argument about new construction is a drain on the local economy, on a local tax budget is not true.
Yeah, way far from the truth. A lot of comments coming in. Neil Williamson's got this comment. It's important to remember which locality the university dorms and much of the off-grounds housing are in.
Albemarle County.
So UVA guys, the University of Virginia is in Albemarle County.
Most people don't know that.
Yeah, most people don't know that. The off-grounds housing is in the city of Charlottesville.
That's exactly right.
So that's a good comment from Neil. Buchensky Michael, love when you watch the show, Michael Buchensky.
Makes it better.
Smart guy, hell of an athlete, loves basketball, great father, just great all-around dude, Michael Buchensky. He says, Keith, are we seeing a longer time on market in any particular areas, or is it still gangbusters out there? Great
question. Yes, we are. We're seeing a little bit longer on market. Our days on market are up. I don't have the actual stats with me at this particular point. Hold on a second. I actually do. Hang on a second. I can tell you here.
I'd say the price point 850 and above is getting a little softer from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, correct. That's what I'm looking at right now. So the days on market are coming up a little bit. So we're not seeing, and we coined this the other day. It's not absolute insanity. It's just insanity now. Mm-hmm. So it feels like it's getting a little bit back to normal. Look, the way I look at the market, a couple of months ago, it didn't matter where it was. Now the where is super important. It's back. So that's what I'm looking at, that the where is super important. Is at one point, if it hit the market, it didn't matter where it was. It didn't matter about the 5 things, right? It didn't matter location, price, features, condition, and timing. That's changed a little bit. Right, and that's just an emotional thing, right? So this is like, we talked about inflation the other day on the show with Quentin. That there's numbers that indicate this, but there's also an emotional component to that, right? For instance, we're going down to the Eastern Shore for a couple of days to work remotely. My wife has my truck. I said she's on an appointment in Crozet, actually trying to do something while I'm talking to you. And I said, stop by, truck's almost on empty, stop by Costco, it's $25, 25 cents cheaper. So we're changing a little bit, a gallon of gas that is, we're changing our patterns a little bit on that end of it. But you're starting to see something. You're starting to see properties that are in different locations sitting on the market a little bit longer. That's a roundabout way to get it, but it's not as global as it used to be a couple of months ago.
Christy Lynn Beck watching the program. She from the
Lake.
And which team?
Oh, come on! I could do it.
The Gunnels team.
Gunnels team.
The
Thank
Gunnels
you.
team.
Thank
Christy
you.
Lynn Beck says, and Christy, we love when you watch the program. You are tremendous on the roundtable. You are vibrant, dynamic, beautiful, and very talented agent. She says, definitely staying on the market longer. Homes are staying on the market longer.
So let's ask Christy this question.
So here's a follow-up question for you, Christy.
Okay. So at Lake Monticello, there's this term, a home gets stale, right? So how many days on market, in her opinion, when something gets stale? So what it is if it's on the market over a certain period of time, people just stop looking at it. So I wonder what she thinks it is in Lake Monticello.
So give us the answer to that question, if you could, in the comments.
And we're having discussions behind the scenes that make a regular occurrence for those two ladies.
Oh, look at that. Behind-the-scenes discussion for you, Christy, to come on the show on this roundtable more consistently. Christopher Eagle and Nicholas Erpy, welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, Nicholas.
Priest, hello. Today, Manana shared the show. Kelly Postel Jackson says, hello, guys. Hello.
Hey, Kelly, how are you?
So, Christy, if you give us that perspective, we would love to relay it on air. What is your answer to that question?
So,
I have an idea what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Yeah, to me, at this point, if you
this market.
In this market,
yeah.
I'm talking today.
Right.
Right.
Not historically.
Not historically. Talking today. If you're on the market for more than a couple of weeks,
yeah, people are asking what's going on.
What's going on with it?
So
yeah,
that's either a pricing issue, a condition issue
That's
or a
fu-
location issue.
There you go, brother.
Yeah.
Location, price, features, condition, and timing is the fifth one. And you're 100% right. It's a matter of how that goes back. Is it overpriced, underpriced? Excuse me, not underpriced. That's not such an animal as that. But if it's overpriced, if the conditions aren't right, so forth and so on. But location, it's starting. You're starting to see location become more of back to the number one position. A couple months ago, it wasn't really that important as long as it was habitable and the price, and they were just flying off.
I mean, I think, okay, this is one man's prediction. You're the expert. I just hang out with experts. Okay.
Brother, you make me better at this job every time I sit down and talk to you.
I have the fortunate aspect of hosting shows on this network is I get to surround myself with very intelligent people, pick their brain for an hour and change, and learn from them.
So that must be Liza you're talking about, right?
That's you. That's Alex Erpy, Nicholas Erpy later today.
Yeah.
Neil Williamson, Sean Tubbs. I learn. I mean, it's like a college, going to college here, the I Love CVille Network.
I never thought about it that way.
That's truly how I feel. So I feel like since launching the network, the knowledge base has gotten more robust. I'm going to throw this question to you. Summer, which is now pretty much over. Kids are now completely in school in Central Virginia.
That's exactly right.
Summer saw a lot of families, because of COVID and quarantine, vacation.
Yep.
June, July, and early August, the Delta variant wasn't picking up momentum.
Yeah.
June, July, early August, we were like, good Lord, I think we've beaten this. We've put this pandemic behind us.
Yeah.
That saw a lot of families get in their cars, get on trains and planes, and take vacations within the country. Now they're coming back. As they come back, I think you're going to see more buyers, less inventory, and a return to that competitive insanity market.
So that's why yesterday the 8 came on the market and 32 went off.
Because people are back.
People are back. There was this little lull that, let's face it. The governor said,
Let's go.
Let's
We're
go.
open.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And everybody traveled, which was a great thing.
It was great.
For the travel industry, for all that kind of stuff. I'm not so sure it was a good thing for the resurgence of Delta, but that's a whole separate debate.
It's a different show.
That's a different show, and I'm not qualified to have that conversation. But the reality of it is, we're starting to see this inventory come off the market. And it goes back to what we've been talking about over and over and over and over and over. We talk about affordable housing all the time, but more, in this case, more is better for everybody.
Yeah.
And
no one's pointing fingers. I'm just talking in broad strokes. That's why I get frustrated with policy or decision makers in municipalities locally that are looking for the perfect housing solution, the perfect amount of affordable housing. From my standpoint, and Michael Payne embodies this, he said this multiple times. He goes, any additional housing, Michael Payne, city councilor, any additional housing is good for the housing ecosystem in Central Virginia.
Smart guy.
Right?
Smart guy.
I mean, even if that additional housing is at the higher price points, it's going to take someone at the higher price points, they will buy that, and it could open up a price point below that higher price point for someone else. Right?
It is, and it's funny, as I would mention to you earlier and to everybody, and I actually texted Neil for you guys for a little bit of help on this, but I'm trying to put this NIMBY thing together and get some folks over here to have different opinion and ask them why they feel this way and have this open conversation about it. But there's actually a new term which I just learned this morning.
Ooh, a new term.
It's a new term, and I've always
it's
knew
not it's a silver buckshot?
No. This is like a.
If I feel any good, it would be illegal. Any better, it would be illegal.
No. If I'd be you. No, but it's a term, and I'll get the acronym wrong, but I'll just explain it. Some of it, and this is why I'm pushing back with Neil a little bit on the adoption of the upzoning in the city of Charlottesville is a term called not during my term, right? There's an acronym that follows that.
Oh, not during my turn, speaking to
the elected officials.
The elected officials.
So what happens is, there's this mentality that I'm rotating out, or the mentality of is as well, I've got election coming up in November. I don't want to pursue something because I may not be in the seat, and I don't want to make a decision. Not that one board can't bind another board, a future board, but there's this mentality, and you know what? Over the 35 years of doing this, it's just been intuitive for me. But there's actual term on it, and I was reading some articles this morning about the NIMBY and the YIMBY and how to have this conversation about that, and this term was thrown out in there in this article I read, and it's a real thing. It's a real thing because when you get a little closer to election time, people don't want to take on
they don't make big decisions.
They do not want to take on big projects.
And we're seeing it with this election. We're seeing quiet. We're not seeing bombastic posts on social media. We're seeing flying under the radar, just getting to early November. And then whether or not you get another 4 years, that's when the action happens.
But that's a real thing.
You're 100% right.
But you and I are trying to fix that because I've actually have commitments for most of the incoming elected for the end of September and the beginning of October to do roundtables on that.
That's great.
So it's been exciting about that. But
so we got an answer to your question.
Sure.
This answer from Christy Lynn Beck, the Maggie Gunnels team. She says, in this market, Keith, I'm seeing that 30 plus days, the listing gets stagnant.
Yeah.
But really things are still moving along.
Yeah.
She says, I love watching you guys. You're so great on this show, and it would be an honor to come back on again.
Oh, yeah, totally. We're chatting with Maggie. And what I want to do is I actually want to bring them back on a Tuesday show because I want to take a deeper dive into what these two ladies are doing outside of real estate. Maggie didn't talk about this, but Maggie is actually big into the hemp business, and she has some businesses out in Colorado, so we're going to bring her in and talk a little bit about
Christy
that.
has a clothing line.
An activewear
line.
I think that's the right terminology.
I think that's the right terminology as well.
But I want to change gears a little bit.
Please.
You went through this whole conversation about how this makes you better. I had a conversation, as you know, as doing this, sitting in this seat, being the executive producer, having a show. The struggle is not sitting here talking to you. The real work is trying to line up guests and conversations and topics. And I had a conversation yesterday with somebody, and we'll leave names out of it, asked me why I did this, what benefit it was for me.
The talk show.
The talk show.
Okay.
They asked me that. Do you know why I do this?
Tell me.
It makes me better at my job. It makes me better at being a real estate agent. It makes me better in being a real estate professional. And it makes me better in all the other things I do. Because you know why? It forces me. I have to do all this.
You have to be on point.
You
feel a sense of responsibility. And if you don't bring your A game, people are going to call you out.
They'll call me out anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the fun of it.
That's the fun of it.
But what you said is, and that's why I do this. Somebody said to me, well, it was at a wedding actually on Friday, and there was a guy out of Northern Virginia, and he goes, well, so how many leads you getting? How many? I said, dude, that's not what I do this for. It's because I'm trying to...
Does the guy out of Northern Virginia watch the show?
He does, actually.
Okay. I mean, let's be honest. It's kept you top of mind
from
a realtor standpoint in Central Virginia for 2 years.
I don't know about that. But
and the new firm, YRP, is crushing it. Yes, Realty Partners.
We are, thank you.
Christy Lynn Beck says you got it correct, Keith.
Thank you.
With the clothing line.
I know that.
You're like,
I remember.
What have I got correct there? He just said, thank you. Okay, I know that. Nicholas Erpy's got a question.
We're coming up on 200 shows. If we ain't reading each other's mind by now.
I think we do.
Yeah.
200 show is what day?
September 3rd. I
September 3rd.
still need some help. I have not figured out what to do.
Are we wearing costumes?
No.
No costumes?
Well, actually, I was thinking about tuxes. That would be neat.
Tuxedos?
No. That's a bad
Judah, do you got any ideas of what we should be wearing? This question from Nicholas Erpy, Merchant Financial Services. How do you resolve, as a realtor, a stale house?
So you have to ask what...
A house that's been on the market for a while.
Yeah. So let's do Christie's analogy, 30 days. Actually, if you're over 15 days, that's
People are asking what's going on.
Yeah. When you hit 30, in my opinion, into Lake Monticello, then you're
Especially at that price point.
you're beyond. Yeah. I think you're having a much harder conversation, but that's the term. You have to. What Christy does well, what Maggie does well, what Yonna does well, what all these real estate agents that are watching do well. Do you know what the number one thing they do is?
Set expectations.
Communicate. Educate. Right? So you have to communicate with your client. You have to understand their client. And it's a difficult thing for us because, we're doing all this, right? We know what the market's going to do. We know where it's going, and we know if it's overpriced, it's going to sit for a while. And it's generally the reason it's sitting for a while is probably in this market it's overpriced. And overpricing in this market, or any market for that matter, is not a good thing. It doesn't help out the seller by any stretch of the imagination on that end of it. And sometimes we do our very best to educate and inform and do that. And sometimes, this is what the client wants to do.
Well, I was having this, Dan Pettit says Batman and Robin suits, Keith.
I still
say it again?
It's funny. I was pulling the suit out of the closet and I
saw mine the other day.
Yeah.
I still have mine.
Well,
J-Dubs, do you have yours? Alfred? Your Alfred suit?
Yeah, I'm not so. Batman and Robin, you think?
Well, I mean, that's just one idea.
Yeah.
So Mustache Dan Pettit says you have to listen and try to meet their needs. I had this discussion with a friend in my neighborhood, and it was their mother was selling their home, and they listed the home at a price that was sky high to see what would happen. They're like, this is a crazy market. Let's go after the highest number possible. 2 price cuts later, the house is still on the market. So
you look. What's the first? What is the thing you never get a second opportunity to do?
First impression.
There you go. I kind of gave that away.
Yeah.
In the beginning of it. So that's it. So if you don't price it right, I mean, it's just look. Let's play buyer seller. Okay. I'm representing you. We're going to go see something, and we're going to say, Keith, I want to take a look at this home in Glenmore. Right? You think I'm just going to show up? I'm going to do all my homework on it. Yeah. I'm going to take a look at it where it's at in the market, what's going on in the market, what's going to go on. I'm going to call the agent on the other side, tell me a little bit about the house, tell me,
look at the comps,
whatever pieces of information I can get together, and then we're going to go take a look at the house. And let's flip it the other way. You're an astute buyer, right? You're a sharp guy. You know this market better than most people do, to be honest with you. But let's say you come in and say, Keith, I want to put a contract in on this. And I know it's over. What do you think I'm going to do?
I mean, you would offer some advice.
That's exactly right. I said, everybody, we're supposed to do what we're supposed to do what our client wants to do. That's our agreements. We have but it also comes with a responsibility to actually be honest and inform our client and go, look, here's our problem with this house. We can do that. We can pursue this house. But we're going to have to put a contingency in there. Let's assume it's cash, or let's assume it's whatever, right? It's a 30-year, it doesn't really matter. We're going to have to put a contingency in there. What if this home doesn't appraise? What are we going to do then, coach? Right? Because I've got to protect you. My fiduciary responsibility is to you. And though you might want to buy a house that's $50,000 over, and you said, look, I don't really care. I'm gonna, when we do the amendment for the appraisal, we'll say, look, if it's over, sometimes this is something that we're doing now actually. That if it's over, say $10,000 list price, you're good with that. You're good with bringing that extra cash to the table. Anything above that, we got to go back and renegotiate. Anything above that, I have the right to terminate. So we're talking about a market that is also controlled by a third party that is not the buyer and the seller, unless it's cash. And even cash deal, I'm doing 2 cash deals right now. Both of them, I'm doing a sale side and a buy side at Lake Monticello, actually. And both of them have appraisal contingencies in it, which is sharp.
Are they going to live, is that their primary residence?
Yeah, they're moving. It's the classic, what you've been talking about. They're moving out of Northern Virginia.
Yeah. Get a backyard,
New York,
room, space,
well,
life.
These are retirees,
yeah.
But they're selling homes that they've been in for 30, 40, 50 years.
All right, so I'm going to throw this to you. Nick Erpy says, Keith, you're in my iPhone, as Keith the Batman Smith. He literally put that on.
Well, I'm working on an emergent financial Erpy family Smith thing, and actually Nick
We
and
should get him back on
we
to the
are,
round table.
and we're gonna get Nick sit next to me because Nick and I are like the same people.
Oh, I like Nick.
And we'll-
Mischievous.
Without a doubt, and we'll fight over the microphone. It'll be a lot of fun.
I like mischievous Nick Erpy.
Give me the phone.
CMO,
No, give me
the
it.
social media ninja, Nicholas Erpy, the man about town, Nicholas Erpy. All right, so I'm gonna give you a hypothetical. I'm gonna paint a picture for you. Prove me wrong.
I love it when we do this.
2022. I'll even get more concentrated. The back end of 2021, September, October, November, and December, the last 4 months of the year, are going to be gangbusters, bananas, fever pitch.
Only if the inventory increases.
Okay? No,
Okay, I'll let you finish.
I don't think
interrupt.
the inventory is going to increase.
So how is it going to be nutty?
I think it's going to be back to 6, 7 offers for one house
Oh, okay,
because there's
okay.
no inventory in the market.
Okay, so
I
that's
do
what-
not think the inventory is going to increase.
Do you think the buyers are going to come back?
I think the buyers are
Yeah,
going to come
I agree
because of
with-
Delta, and I think the
I agree.
buyers are
I
going to
agree
come
with
from
you.
outside the market.
I agree. You know, it's an interesting stat, and some of the realtors who are watching will get this, and we'll throw that out to the feed to answer this question. We have multiple transactions going on right now, with the exception of two, I'm sorry. Every one of the agents on the other side is coming from outside of this area.
So that's Northern Virginia agents, for example,
Richmond.
driving their clients down in the car,
Richmond, Northern Virginia.
like taking an entire day.
Actually seeing people coming from the other side of the mountain, which is odd because we've been talking about
Yeah,
it going
us going there.
going that way. I've got a transaction that the buyer and the agent is coming from Waynesboro over actually into Lake Monticello.
Andre
But that-
Xavier, I've been wondering this question too. Andre Xavier, the serial entrepreneur, when is this going to turn into a buyer's market again?
So if you read all the stuff that all the smart people do, Dr. Yoon, Lisa Sturtevant, Dr. Lisa Sturtevant, I don't.
Not anytime soon.
When do I stutter? 23, 24? Who the hell knows?
We're not going to have a stabilized market until rates increase.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with somebody the other day.
And I don't want rates to increase.
Well,
Maybe the agents do.
I think if the rates look, I'm not.
If the rates increase, people have less purchasing power.
Well,
That's going to take some people out of the game.
It'll take some people out of the game. It also might increase the inventory too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, increase the inventory. It depends on the percentage jump, and Nicholas is a smart enough guy that he could probably do this math in his head. I can't. But if it goes up a quarter point from where it is today, what is the real impact on that? Is that just one less of these a month, right, or a week, or a day, or whatever it is? Where is this delta? Where is this number? And I didn't bring it with me today, but I actually ran since 1971 the interest rates year over year. There's a file that I have on that I was able to pull off the internet. God love the internet. And the last time I think, if I remember this, it was 4.5%. Was 2008, 2009, when we were in the middle of this crisis. I may have those dates wrong, but somebody smarter than me can look at it. I just didn't bring it with them. But we're a long way away from that. Now, Yellen is talking about inflation. That's kind of why we talked about it on Friday, right? Inflation is kind of this unknown thing out there that may impact this process. But the simple fact of the matter is, it's a simple supply and demand issue. At the moment, the demand is off the charts. The supply is not even on the chart. And what are we going to do to fix that? And this is something we've been roundtabling and debating and talking about for 2.5 years, it appears.
We're going to get to Grayson's comment here. Mustache Stamp Pettit, we will get to your comment. Ray Cadell.
Oh, Ray, we miss you, man. How you
Ray
been?
Cadell and Associates, a fantastic agent himself. He says, I have a brand new listing, not in the city, by the way. 7 showings that I know of today, but it's vacant, lockbox. so they don't even have to notify me. List price will break the record by a lot for the sizable neighborhood. If I get it for my clients, a little uncomfortable for an agent like me with a ton, 35 plus years of experience.
Why are you uncomfortable?
Why are you uncomfortable, RC? Why are you uncomfortable, Ray Cadell?
I think I know the answer to that.
Why, what do you think the answer is?
I'd love to. Well, I think, we as real estate agents, we as real estate professionals, this run-up stuff.
Yeah, you guys know the impact you have on ecosystems and neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And how actively connected you are to gentrifying neighborhoods and pushing out the original guard, the OG.
That's exactly right. And you're a stock market guy. You love the stock market. Mm-hmm. I'm a real estate guy. I kind of put my money in real estate, not as much as that. That didn't go so well, by the way, in the great unpleasantness. but the reality of it is, what do you want? Stabilization in the market more than anything, I would think, right?
I want predictability.
Predictability, stabilization, normalcy.
I want to get on my portfolio, I want to get
whatever it is,
10 to 12% return.
Whatever it is.
This is what I'm going to get.
Anybody in the space, a ton of professional real estate agents, a ton of outstanding real estate agents listen and watch to this show on a regular basis.
We got questions coming in from them.
They want stabilization. So I think that's what, if I know Ray.
Is that what you mean by that,
Ray at all, that's that. Plus, but on the other hand, Ray's fiduciary responsibility is to a seller to get as much money as possible for them so they can do what they want to do. But in a way, I can understand why he's a little uncomfortable.
Ray says there are no comps that justify what is happening in this market in most, if not many cases. So
I'm trying to get two appraisers lined up to sit across from you and I to talk about that, because that's the third party in this that we have to have a conversation with.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Okay. Let's take the neighborhood I live in. We know Stanley Martin is putting in a lot of new construction.
Almost done.
We love Stanley Martin.
Mm-hmm.
We love Stanley Martin on this show. And the new construction Stanley Martin's putting in my particular neighborhood, it's got a nice price tag on it.
Sure.
We're talking homes that are in the 8s.
Yeah, let's cut to the chase. You can't buy any new construction in Albemarle County.
8 or 9.
8 starting, but really 9.
Depending on the bells and whistles you want.
Single family detached.
Single family detached. Okay, here's the question I have.
In a million years, I never thought I'd hear that number.
When you're listing existing construction, a home that's, say, 20 years old.
Got it.
Can you use new construction as the comps to justify the price of your existing construction?
Oh, that's a great question.
Can someone say, look, my home is twice the size of these Stanley Martin homes. Yeah. Yes, it's 23 years old, but I'm going to use the Stanley Martin new bells and whistles shiny price point to justify why I'm going to list my home at a similar price point.
So I'm not an appraiser.
Okay.
I don't even play one on a show. That's the reason I want to bring the appraisers in there, and somebody like Ray, who's listening, has way more years of experience than I do. I will tell you, I personally, if I'm doing a CMA, so let's get it out of appraisal world. Let's talk about, I'm doing a CMA. This is your home. You're trying to sell in the residence that you live in that's 20 years old. Doesn't matter if you're the second or the third or the fourth owner. I will not use new construction as a comp. It is apples and pears into that.
So you don't suggest it?
I cannot, maybe a strong word.
Can the appraiser justify the appraisal with the new construction as a comp?
I'm going to say no, but I don't know that answer for 1,000% sure.
What do you think, Ray Cadell, Dan Pettit, and the other agents watching this program?
That's the reason I want appraisers across from us to ask those very questions on that end of it. I will tell you that if I was doing a CMA for your house to put your house on the market, I would not use new construction. To me, it's apples and pears. They're not the same. Not even they're homes, right? They're fruit, but one's a banana and one's a pear, or apple and pear on that end of it.
Comments coming in. Gwendolyn Cassidy is watching again. She
Hey.
made us better today. Did you guys connect? She wants to volunteer on a board.
Yeah, I have not connected yet. I had a busy day actually selling and buying property after the show yesterday. So I promise you I will connect.
She's ready to volunteer.
I will connect.
She says, isn't standard real estate investing looking for 8% return on investment? And that's in response to my comment about the stock portfolio that I'm looking for 10 to 12%.
So she's talking about a cap rate.
She said, she said, I did send an email to you.
Good enough. I will get on it. I apologize. Been busy since then. We'll get you on it. So she's talking about a cap rate, right? Capitalization rate. You really want to be you depending on who you talk to. It's usually 7%. 7 is that's your golden number you're trying to hit. If it's 6, if it's 8, it's even better. But 7 is kind of the gold standard of percentage rates. And that's a whole show into itself on how to establish cap rates. But it's usually 7%. And I promise you, I will send an email. It's the success of what we do here. I'm very busy after the show.
That's good to hear. Grayson says, why wouldn't new construction be a justifiable comp for existing construction when there is not any inventory on the market today? People are buying the new construction at these high price points. They would also consider existing construction at a similar price point.
So, again, I'm not an appraiser, but if an appraiser can't find something, they do what's called a replacement cost, and they substantially discount it. How they discount it, how they do their formulas, how they do all that stuff, I don't know, frankly. I will tell you from a market perspective, it's very simple. Would you if you have a house side by side, right, same square footage, a home that's 20 years old, has 20 years, everything wrong with 20-year roof, which is at the end of its life, yada, 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 and I got a home right next door to it that's brand new, that comes with a 1-year warranty.
I'll play devil's advocate with you.
For approximately the same price? Other than the location, right? If the price is approximately the same?
I don't think you would pay an identical price, but you would flirt with the new construction price because, frankly, you have no other choice. Christy Lynn Beck agrees with you. Same, Keith. I won't use it either.
Yeah.
I ran into that problem with an appraisal that I appealed, and they said no to new construction.
Yeah, so the
Good
term.
comment, Christy.
So the term is replacement cost. So they won't use new construction. They'll do replacement cost. So if you have, and it's generally you run into that issue. So let's talk about your.
Dan Pettit says, get an appraiser to answer this question, Keith.
Well, I've been trying to. They won't come on. They're so damn busy. I'm trying to get them on. But so on your subdivision,
Yeah.
all I got to do is go back in time.
Uh-huh.
And it's a whole science way above my pay grade. Dan is 1,000% right. I'm trying to get 2 appraisers to come in here, but I can't get
You're so busy.
I can't get their schedules. I mean, and just to give a shout out to the guests that sit across from us when we do our roundtables, this is a half a day they have to take out of their day.
Wow.
Well, they got to be here at 10 o'clock in the morning, so that means they need to get ready and get here. They have to spend an hour and a half with us, and then before you know it, it's 12 o'clock. So, yes, they eat up a portion of their day, and I'm saying that from a thankful perspective.
Oh, sure.
I'm thankful that these folks do that, and I've never had anybody in 2.5 years say they can't do it because of the time commitment that they take on. They just couldn't work it into their schedule.
This is from
Thanks, Dan, for keeping me straight.
Martha Trader. Keith, are some appraisers more forgiving in quotes than others?
So, again, back to Dan's comment, this is why I'm trying to get appraisers
What
here.
does she mean by forgiving?
Well, they're not
Willing to play ball, play the game?
They're not supposed to, right? That's the reason they're there, right? They are the equalizer. They are. Hey, I was thinking about this morning. We should talk about sports. I'm not a sports guy, but you are. But thank you very much. They are the umpires in this.
Oh, nice analogy. Mark Lichtman's a sports guy. He's watching the program.
They are the umpires in this transaction. They're the ones, and that let's face it. We didn't have really good umpires in the last great unpleasantness, right? And they were just
The gatekeepers.
They are the umpires. They are the ones that call fouls. They're the one that calls balls and strikes on this end of it.
The appraisers.
And yeah,
That's a good analogy, too.
and at the end of the day, you're the Yankees. I was going to say Red Sox, but that's horrible. I'm the Mets because I won't do that, right? And I'm up at bat, and you're pitching, and the umpire is the one, and you're the buyer, I'm the seller, or you're the buyer's agent, you're the seller's agent, and somewhere in the middle there are bankers, which are the managers, right? And the umpire is the one that is calling the balls and strikes and say, okay, this is that. There was a question that actually came in from a fellow agent of mine. From another firm that actually, on this topic of appraisers, asked me a question via text this morning. Am I starting to see appraisals above contract price? And I haven't seen that yet. They tend to
appraisals above contract price.
I got asked that question from an agent from another firm.
So that would mean the buyer was able to negotiate a deal and a price point that is below
No.
market.
No. Are you seeing appraisals go over contract price? And I have not. They usually hit awfully close, or if everybody does their job right, if we, as Dan Pettit does his job right, Ray does his job, which they will, and I do my job right, and we get this thing all balanced out, we should be having the contract somewhere at or around market price, assuming everybody agrees to it. What this particular agent was asking me are, we're seeing appraisals come above contract price, and the only one that I recently seen that on was the land trust, right? But we knew that was
that's an anomaly. We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, by 100,000.
Ray Cadell says Chuck Harlow, great appraiser, nice guy as well, plenty of experience.
I've reached out to Chuck. We're trying to get on schedule. I'm talking to about a dozen of them, and it's just trying to because I just don't want one, I want two, because everybody, even though you and I do a CMA, there's always just a little bit of finesse to it, and I'd love to hear the approach from two different appraisers. So I'm working on it. It's just hard to get everybody together.
Mark Lickman watching the program, one of the biggest Philadelphia Eagles fans I know. Love you, Mark.
No,
Lickman.
he's the second largest.
Who's the biggest Philadelphia Eagles fan?
My son, my brother-in-law.
Oh, your brother-in-law.
James Watson.
James Watson is a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan.
He's from Philly.
I did not know that, James Watson. I learned something about you today.
I think he's even got a tattoo.
Mark Lickman says, I know two different people that have sold their homes minus having an appraisal done because of how hot the market is.
Yeah, man.
That's risky. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, I would never do that.
Ray Cadell said, I actually had one appraisal come in $4,500 over today.
Yeah. On what price point? That's important. Not exact number, Ray, but if it's a 40,
big deal if it's in the 200 to 250
That's about
range.
to say.
It's not as big of a deal if it's like 6, 7, 8.
Maybe he can tell us what the percentage difference was, and somebody can figure the math out that way. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're 100% right. $4,000 on 150,000 is a huge difference.
It's a huge deal.
On 800, not so much.
It's nothing.
Not so much.
He continues. He says, Jerry and Keith, do your listeners understand that the appraiser has a copy of the contract in his or her hand? He knows what the seller and purchaser have agreed is a fair price.
I agree. I got to save this conversation for the appraiser because I'm going in a little bit of a slippery slope on all that stuff. But Ray's 100% right. So we have a contract goes off to the lender then sends a copy of the contract off to the appraiser. And I'll ask this question of Ray. I can tell you, at least on our end of it, and I'll see if Ray has the same experience or any other realtor that's watching. I will tell you, we probably get 8 out of 10 deals, we'll get a phone call from the appraiser to explain something in the contract or explain something in the home or whatever. We constantly get phone calls. Something Yonna and I do, and this is just what we do, when we are representing a seller, what we do is we leave, we're not supposed to influence the appraiser, but we leave a booklet on there with all improvements and any changes that have been made to the home since they were purchased. It's any type of improvements in it. It's not guiding them at all. It's just a factual thing that they may not be aware of that's either in the contract or they walk through the home. And we find that makes a difference.
This is from Jack. Keith, what are the top 3 or 4 factors an appraiser is using to justify the price?
Man, again, we're going down this appraisal road. There's multiple factors that they do, but the simplest one is some sort of comp, right? They need to compare what this home is and its standard features, right? What it has. This comment I just talked about improvements, right? So if you bought your house and you put a sunroom on the back of your house, right? Well, that's an improvement. Now, you may have spent $100,000 to get that. I don't think that's what you're going to get in value out of it, but it improves the value of your particular home. So if it's not stipulated in the contract, and if the appraiser doesn't know that was added on, or he or she may know that, but sometimes those things are helpful, right? Just upgraded the HVAC system, just upgraded. But if anybody's ever looked at an appraisal, it's multiple pages long, multiple items long. So it's not just 1, 2, or 3. It's several items.
So Ray responded. The appraisal came in $4,500 over. It was on $165K appraised, $160K sales price.
Ooh.
Buyers had a good agent. Sunglass emoji. I think that's Ray Cadell. That was the agent. Well played, Ray Cadell.
Yeah.
Paul, go ahead.
So what Ray can say is, and he's right. And congratulations, their house is now worth $4,000 more than when.
Yeah, they have immediate equity.
Before they even close it, it's
Before
worth.
they even close.
Good for you, man.
Good job, Ray Cadell. Paul MacArthur, Avenue Realty.
Paul's a genius of a man and a vet, an Air Force vet. So thank you for your service.
And Paul, you're fresh from a vacation with your family. I hope you've maintained your sanity, your health, and everything went well. It looked like you guys had a great trip.
Sanity,
He's got 2 young kids and a beautiful wife. And where'd you guys go, Paul? It looked like you went all over the country. My favorite photo was you were in one state in the country, and it was like something sushi. You took a picture of the restaurant. Paul says this: some banks are waiving the requirement for appraisal depending on down payment, credit, etc. of the buyer. Usually happens when there is down payment higher than 20%.
That's exactly right. Great, you're making the show better, Paul. Yeah, totally. There is such an animal as a waiver, right? And you can waive that. So if you put let's face it. Let's back up for a second here. Who do you think the appraisal's really for?
I think the appraisal is really for the bank.
There you go.
Yeah, to justify the lending of the money.
There you go. So why the only reason the bank would go ahead and offer a waiver, it's usually a couple of things. One is 20%. The other thing is the credit worthiness of the buyer, right, and their particular background. You know, you could put 20% down, but maybe your credit score isn't so good, and all the rest of the factors that go into that. But all things being equal, all they really care about is the house being worth that 80%. Because God forbid it ever comes back to them, they just want to know if they can sell it. That's their box they need to check. Interesting question for Paul.
He said it was a road trip from Phoenix, Arizona to Montana.
Ooh. And then Montana here? Well, he probably flew.
You have what, 2 daughters, Paul? 2 daughters, a beautiful wife. It looked like it was a dynamic trip. What's your question for Paul?
Paul,
try to keep you on track over here.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I got to put a note because I got to get Paul in on the Monday Market Monitor.
Oh, Paul would be great here.
Yeah. I just wrote that down. I got to reach out and call him after the show.
He's got experience on the network.
He does.
The man can talk the talk and walk the walk.
He can, and we just got to find a second seat for him. That's all. Somebody from his firm. So I'll reach out to you, Paul, after it's done. The question for Paul was, so Paul, if Paul's representing me, and I'm putting 20% down, and my lender says, look, I can do what's called an appraisal waiver, would he suggest I do that or not? So would he make a suggestion to me? You like that, huh? That was a loaded question.
That was such a loaded question.
I know. I don't want to see.
Would you suggest doing something that could impact the deal?
Well, I put it this way. No, I know Paul well enough to say this because we've done a couple of deals together. He will have a conversation with Keith and share the risks that I'm taking. Because there is a risk there. It could be that I'm paying 40% more for this house. I don't know that until the appraisal comes in. Now, Paul's done all his work and done his comps and said all of what he
says the number one answer in real estate that you will hear from agents. Well, it depends.
Well, it depends.
Well, it depends.
Paul, we're going to have to get you in.
Paul knows how to play the game.
We're going to get you in, Paul. Unfortunately, we're booked pretty much through the next 30 days, but I'll reach out to you and see if we can get you at the end of September.
Christy Lynn Beck, watching the program, start to finish. We love that, Christy Lynn Beck. She said, I had a few deals in the 200 to 300,000 range come in 4 to 5K above appraisal, but I also think that it is a reflection of the continued increase in prices. Amen.
Yeah. So,
Ray Cadell says, I like being on the other side of Paul McCarter on the closing table.
Yeah. I've done a couple deals with him. He's a great agent to work with. So is Ray. So is everybody watching this. But let's take the conversation we're having now. So we have a couple of agents that chimed in somewhere in the 200,000 to 300,000 range is what I'm hearing. Some of them were over $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000. It sounds about right. Is that what we're talking about right now?
Substantial.
Right.
Over.
Okay. So, isn't this a great conversation to have with a buyer right now? Great piece of information to have with a buyer right now that is saying, well, maybe I'm buying at the top of the market. Maybe I shouldn't buy now. Here's the point. There's proof in it that you're not.
You're saying there's proof that the market is still going up.
That's exactly right. And the math that I've done over the last 20...
You must be in the sales business.
I'm in the sales business. Well, I play one on TV.
You stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
There you go. But I did an analysis over 20 years, and I think I mentioned this to you before. We roughly range about 3 to 4% year over year. Now, in the years of great unpleasantness, not so much, right? But if you hung on to it long enough, just like your stocks, right? If you hang on to them long enough, you'll always make money. Unless the company goes bankrupt, and that's a whole different issue. But you're right. At the end of the day, you put $100 in the stock market now and leave it alone, you'll make money on it. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, if you invest in good companies.
Yeah.
I'm playing the long game. Dan Pettit, I have refused a listing lately because they wanted to list way too high. Seller would not change their minds, so I
tell me how that
went. They now have listed with someone else and have reduced their price 3 different times.
So he was right.
Yeah.
So that's a hats off to you, Dan. And Yonna and I will, sometimes you have to have this unpleasant conversation, right? We're not going to get that number, right? And so what, I don't know if Michael Guthrie's watching, but I'm going to give him a bit of a shout out here.
I'll tag him.
Yeah. Michael, 8 years ago said this phrase, and this is something that I've adopted and stole from him and use almost everything. I said, and to paraphrase the way I do it, I'll ask you, do I have permission to be honest with you? And I literally will ask them, do I have permission to be honest?
And say yes to that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then you be honest.
Right.
At that point. And then when they push back, you remind them, you remember, I asked you, do I have permission to be honest with you? And I'm being honest with you. That is too much. We're not going to get it. The house is going to be on the market for 15 to 30 days. It's going to be stale. And then we're going to be playing catch-up ball, right? The Yankees got 9 runs, and it's the 9th inning, and Keith is at bat. And we got to catch up 9 runs.
I love when Keith uses the sports metaphors.
It sucks. I'm trying. I can talk running. I can talk biking, but baseball.
You can talk real estate. You can talk food.
Yeah, I can talk food.
You can talk Charlottesville and Fluvanna County.
I can talk just about anything.
Affordable housing.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
This is from Jackson. So, fellas, what you're saying is next year is going to be like this year.
And I think the year after that, if I was a betting man.
2023?
When we were coming out of this, I was thinking 2022 would be the pivotal year, would be the year that changes. I think maybe that might be 2023 at this point. But it's just so many factors involved in it. What's going to happen with this Delta variant? We were having a conversation off air, right?
What do you think is going to happen? I have some predictions.
So you think we're going to get locked down? Again.
This is what I think is going to happen. And I based on everything I'm saying on smart people that come on this show, sit at this table, and give me their takes. And then I say, all right, this guy said this gal said this.
You start putting it together.
You start putting it together.
Sure.
Lee Elberson, who's the CEO of Claiborne Education.
Smart dude.
And one of the smartest guys I know.
And he's a Marine on top of that.
And a Marine. A rocket scientist. Serial entrepreneur.
So rocket science Marine. I never figured that out.
Former professional poker player, Lee Elberson. I mean, this guy is just a super smart guy.
Very much so.
And he doesn't hyperbolize or he says what he thinks is going to happen.
He calls it as he sees it.
He says you put the over-under at Thanksgiving for in-person school to go back to hybrid. He says, I'm taking the under. It's going to happen before Thanksgiving. If the kids, because of Delta, have to go back to hybrid or home learning and the co-closet with a computer and the guest bathroom, that, for a second year, is going to impact so many people, especially in tinier homes, densely populated homes, apartment complexes, townhomes. That is going to cause folks to flood to Central Virginia again. And I think we're going to have a similar situation. I think the Delta variant is going to put tailwinds and momentum behind what you do, real estate, just like it did in 2020 and just like it did in 2021. Was 2020 your best year ever in real estate?
2020 was.
So you've been in real estate since 1987.
I have been.
So you've been in real estate 34 years. His best year in 34 years of being in real estate was 2020 during a pandemic.
Now, to quantify that a little bit, when I was building, I had a little bit more volume in a couple of years, prior to the implosion. We were doing 40, 50 units a year at $500,000 and up a piece. But overall, 2020 was our best from a revenue perspective, our best real estate year.
Okay, and 2021 is shaping out to be pretty strong for you.
It is, but here's the reality. I had this conversation with senior management at UVA.
Okay.
And I'll leave names out of it.
Sure.
And we were at a meeting, and they were saying, you must be doing great from a financial perspective. And I said, look, we're very blessed. We are so privileged, it's ridiculous, right? But I asked this particular individual, I said, do you understand how I make money?
Yeah, you need inventory to sell.
I need inventory to sell.
Yeah.
And if I can't find a home for Jerry to buy, then I'm not making money.
I think mortgage officers like Scott Morris are going to crush it in 2022.
Well,
I think remodeling companies
watching?
are going to crush it. Mike Buchenski, you still watching?
I think the interest rate, and I think, not to get too technical, but I think they're going to stop easing their quantitative.
Yeah, they're going to taper.
They're going to taper it off a little bit, which is going to get the T-bill going in the opposite direction, which is going to make the 30-year go up a little bit.
It's true.
And, this 40-year mortgage, I know we talked about
40-year mortgage is insane.
I understand it.
You understand it? What do you understand?
I understand it as a tool to try to keep that payment,
affordability?
the affordability payment down, but it's hard to wrap your brain about 30 years. 40 years is just insane. I mean, it's just, but we're going to bring in, actually, Scott's coming in, and I've got Scott coming in and one other lender to talk about this in the next month.
Paul MacArthur, studies show pricing too high usually gets you a lower amount than pricing it right from the beginning.
All you got to do is look at NAR reports. It tells you that in the beginning. And people like Paul MacArthur, and everybody else watching this, real estate agents that are watching this, there's another stat. You actually use a real estate agent, you have a better chance of getting
higher price.
Yeah,
because they know how to play the game and navigate the waters.
That's exactly right. What time is it?
11:30.
Oh.
A couple of people are asking this question. Keith, will Q3 and Q4, and I'm paraphrasing here, will the end of this year be different than 2022?
Try that again.
Will the end of this year be different from a real estate standpoint than 2022? I'll add to this. Is the spring market going to spring September and October and go all the way into Q1 and Q2 of next year?
Let's tackle that for a second. I honestly believe this. This whole conversation about spring market, fall market, winter market, and this is pre-COVID, I think is kind of gone away. This lack of inventory is kind of ruling that rule. I mean, this year, so the proverbial summer market started in May or April, March, something like this, in that end of it. So,
you think the seasonal markets are done?
So I keep a running. You would actually like this. I'm going to bring this into you one day. I've got a 15-year running graph of our sales. talks about what months we do contracts and closings.
And what are your best
takeover.
months?
Believe it or not, we do really good in the winter months.
Q4.
Q4.
When most are,
Believe it or not.
when most of
But
the time the market is sleepy.
Historically, at least for us, you'll find
Like Rip Van Winkle over here.
you'll find like July, the middle of the month, the summer months were a little bit low. That also might have something to do with us taking vacation, right? That kind of thing. But we actually
You do take
I take a,
You knew I was going to say that.
and why do I do that?
Because you recharge. That's how you reset your compass and
That is-
find your vision
And
your direction.
what's the second reason?
Because family is important to you.
Because Mr. and Mrs. Smith spend a lot of time together, and we sometimes we're going to remote work for a couple of days. I love you, dear. This is Yonna talking to me, by the way.
But I'm getting the hell away from you.
I don't like you right now. So we're going to go.
And when she says that, what do you say?
Honey,
Yes, dear.
honey, where would you like to go? and we're going to go sit on the front porch, look at the bay, have fiber internet at Cape Charles, and work.
You're doing that this week.
We're doing it tomorrow, this afternoon through Thursday, and I'll come be here on Friday morning.
I like it.
On that end of it. Yeah, so it's I lost my train of thought. Where were we at before I went off on a tangent?
We were talking about why the winter months were good for
Got
you.
it. Thank you.
That's why you need.
That's why I need you. Well,
we don't have to go down that road. Let's not go down that
I
road.
shocked Greg Slater about this on Saturday, by the way, because he never knew that what you know about me, about my ADD, and he figured it out in a meeting on Saturday. But in any event, I don't know, for us, we always have really good Novembers and Decembers. I mean, contract-wise.
Good for you.
I can't tell you why, but we generally, historically, you'll find out that, some are a little better than others, but I'll
So,
get you that spreadsheet.
I would
You'll
love
like
to see that spreadsheet. So, my friend, you're going to Cape Charles.
We're going to hit, we've got at 3 or 4 o'clock today, because that's the insane time to drive through the Hampton Tunnel. So we're going to time it so we can drive through the Hampton Tunnel at the worst possible moment.
And you should see Keith in traffic.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a different kind of man.
Oh, I'm a different dude. And yeah.
What's your plan for Friday? What are we doing?
At the moment, I think more of this. At the moment, I had a couple of guests that unfortunately can't make it. So I think more of this, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be working my magic as I'm driving through the Hampton Tunnel stuck on that end
Let's
of it.
give some love to Intrastate Service Company.
Home's best friend.
There you go.
Look at that.
done.
That is etched in my brain.
Intrastate Service Company, a home's best friend. Also, we give love to Yes Realty Partners, a trusted name in the game. Yes Realty Partners. My friend, an hour and 20 minutes flies by.
I love our Tuesdays.
Yeah, this was easy.
I love it and thank you for everybody who engages in the feed. It takes us, at least me anyway, a little bit of time to catch up to the great Jerry Miller. But when we get there, we just have a lot of fun, and
We do have a lot of fun.
chemistry's flowing. What do you have on today?
I have Patty Zeller, who's the Retailer of the Year in America.
Ooh,
And we have Nicholas Erpy to talk market dynamics.
together.
They're going to be on in person, but on different times.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it should be a dynamic show.
All right. So I've got some phone calls to make.
Yes.
Thank you. I wrote them down.
Make sure you reach out to Gwendolyn.
I've got it. I've got it on my little notepad there.
This is Real Talk presented by Yes Realty Partners, guys. Trust the name of the game. Think Keith Smith, Yonna Smith, and Yes Realty Partners when you're buying or selling a home. You see what this man is all about from an honesty, integrity, character, and hardworking standpoint. Intrastate Service Company, also a presenting sponsor of the program. A home's best friend is Intrastate Service Company. They've proudly served Central Virginia for more than 50 years. When you've been in business for more than 50 years, that speaks volumes to your level of success and commitment to your customers. My name is Jerry Miller for Keith Smith and Judah Wickower. This is Real Talk. We'll see you in 59 minutes on the I Love CVille show. Take care.